Hello and welcome to our very first Cotswold Players podcast, the place where we talk about all things theatre in Stroud. My name is Jack Boskett and I'm going to be chatting with two lovely directors today who are involved with a couple of upcoming productions at the Cotswold Playhouse Theatre. We will hear from Diane Owen, who is currently putting together a lockdown treat for us all with a potted pantomime of Jack and the Beanstalk that she has written herself. And then later on, we will turn the clock back to the 1970s as we talk with long-standing member Claire Howard about the play she's involved with, Absurd Person Singular. So it's all very exciting. We've got to keep positive during this time. So let's see what's involved with a pantomime. Now, Diane Owen has been a member of the Cotswold Players for just under 2 years. She is well known in her field for directing pantos and has a dabble at writing her own gags too. And she joins me now. Hello, Diane.
Hello.
Thank you for joining today to talk about your pantomime. And I believe it's first of its kind in this format, and we're about to hear a bit more. Now, I've taken part in a number of your play readings and have sampled some of your work. And I have to say, it's really impressive. And you've had me rolling around in stitches. So, I've thoroughly enjoyed the pantomimes that you've written. So what got you into that first? That's one of the first questions.
Oh, goodness. Well, pantomime was really my introduction to amateur theatre. I started on the stage at the tender age of probably 7. I've still got a photo of my very first pantomime, and I played a fairy. I think it was Little Red Riding Hood. And I grew up, it was a local youth group. And the lady who ran it wrote her own pantomimes, and that's where I learnt the trade, if you like, because she wrote really lovely, family-friendly shows, and she knew what made a really good pantomime. So that's where I learnt it from, and it got me into amateur theatre. Yes, people know me for pantomime, but I actually really enjoy lots of other types of theatre, and in some ways want to avoid being labelled as a panto guru, because for me the joy of pantomime is that it gets young people, families into seeing live theatre, and then one hopes from that they can then indulge in other types of theatre and really see the full range. So that's why I like it in that sense. And it's also a great format for involving every aspect of the theatre, because a good pantomime, yes, you need a good script.
Yeah.
But a good script is on its own is not enough. You've then got to have the costumes, the set, the music, all those elements, and the audience before it really can work.
You have taken the task of putting on a pantomime via Zoom, with a cast, with props, with everything like that. And we're in lockdown 3 now. So in 2021, tell me more about Jack and the Beanstalk that's going on at the moment. What will our audiences expect?
Oh, wow. Well, of course, I was asked to do this. And when somebody said, we wondered whether you'd like to write a potted pantomime, to be shown online. And to begin with, I must admit, I was slightly reticent and rather, how's this going to work? Partly because for me, pantomime can't work unless you have an interactive audience. So for me, that was that was the impossible bit about it, that I couldn't see my way through. And then you sort of think about it and chew ideas over, and then I got a little germ of an idea. Didn't get down to it straight away because I was busy with helping my eldest son have their second baby and all of that, so we had lots of distractions. But once we got home and we were locked down again, and then I don't know what it was, but it just suddenly really worked for me the way I could write it. So it is based around the idea of a Zoom audience who are sat not very happy, and the pantomime is what is going to cheer them up and entertain them. But that enabled me to have a structure where you had the audience interaction. And and now I've seen a little bit of footage where it's being edited together. I just feel really pleased that that's the way we went, because if you just watch a pantomime where you just have the basic pantomime on a screen, it's quite difficult to get involved with it because you haven't got an audience around you. Whereas by doing it this way, we've sort of provided that.
Yeah. And an audience makes a pantomime, doesn't it, as well? You need that audience, especially for ad-libbing perhaps, or, a bit of feedback, and obviously the laughter and the groaning at the silly jokes. You don't have that in this version, but as a live audience, but you've turned it into a virtual live audience, haven't you? So, I mean, I think that's very, very clever. I think that really is clever, and I can't wait to see how that comes across.
It's obviously been a big challenge because originally we had hoped that the sort of more live action of Jack and the Beanstalk and the basic fairy story we'd be able to film very simply at the theatre, albeit using green screens and social distanced and all of that, but I'd written it in a way that could work. And of course, then this third lockdown happened, and then it was like, what are we going to do? So it's been a tremendous challenge for the actors involved because, as they have discovered, filming with a green screen in your own house is really not trivial. And we know that compared with the quality that a TV company could achieve, it's not going to be there. People will be able to tell that it's been done in quite difficult circumstances, but we've a very talented editor who's going to take what footage he's got and put it together. But it's been lots of challenges. The sound is difficult because you're working in your house. A lot of them, they've struggled for space because you actually need quite a big bit of space to rig your green screen and have room for the camera and light it well. So there's lots of challenges, but then that's been part of the fun. And for me, that's partly what this has been about, is giving people something challenging and different and hopefully fun as well during these difficult times. And some of it's going to be about a sense of achievement if once we have this thing all put together to see what we've pulled off, really.
I think it's going to be amazing. And I also understand our tech guru, Pete Barnes, he's been working really hard behind the scenes, editing this and putting this together. Tell me more about his involvement.
Well, because it's interesting, of course, because as with most of the people that are involved in this project, I've never met them face to face. As a relatively new member, I've met you because you were involved in the pantomime a couple of years ago. But a lot of people, I just see their top half. It's really strange directing in that situation. Obviously, Pete's I've never met face to face. I mean, he's got an awful lot of editorial control, probably more than you would have in normal circumstances, because we're just having to say, well, here's the footage. But I do, really trust him. And the little snippets he's done so far, I know he's going to do a fantastic job in pulling it together. But it's very much, we've tried to work to sort of get the footage for him. But because of the circumstances we're in, we can't have a lot of conversation around, well, should we do it this way? Should we do it that way?
Yeah.
We've got to let him get on and edit it and bring it together. But it's very clever what you can do these days.
Absolutely.
It really made me realise how much of what you watch on the telly is not really real.
Oh, yes, it's a different world. So we've mentioned Pete, obviously doing a lot of editing and getting all that together. And what about the cast? Who's involved?
Right, so I mean, really, in a sense, it's quite a big cast. So I'm not going to try and name all of them because, of course, we've got our Zoom audience. And because now I've seen some footage, we could have had even more, but actually in terms of managing the project, the number's been about right, because all of them have had to film their bits, on their own. And so there's been a lot of work's gone on to provide everybody with audio tracks. So in terms of the main cast, we have John Salter as Dame. I believe it's the first time he's played Dame, but I think he's had a lot of fun doing that, putting on makeup.
I think he enjoys that a bit too much.
And then we have two fairies, a fairy cute and a fairy glum. And people who are listening can work out why I called her fairy cute. There's a very good reason, but you have to watch the show to find out. So Fairy Cute is Melanie Palmer, who does a fantastic job with that character. And Fairy Glum and Martin, again, really brought the character to life, because with it being a short panto, you don't have many lines to play with. So a lot of it is down to the actors to colour the character.
Yeah.
And actually, that's the truth for a full-length panto. You don't usually get masses of dialogue like you do in a proper play. So a lot of the character has to come from the actors. And they've all done a great job in bringing the characters to life in their green screens in their room on their own. And then we have a cow.
Yes.
Which involves Stevie Free and Tony Free. So that's the chair of the group. So I'm excited to see that working well. And Jack and the Beanstalk, well, we also forget Jack, that's Katie Smith, who has just finished filming and done a great job, looking really the part. And then Lizzie Leach plays our fairy, who does a lovely rendition of a princess, does a lovely rendition of a very innocent young lady.
It sounds like it's all coming together.
Yeah,
it really does. And it's obviously not very long, is it? So is it about half an hour long? Is it 20 minutes long?
It'll be 35 minutes roughly, I guess, that sort of length. I mean, originally they'd sort of said 10 to 20. I can't make it that short. Because once you get a scenario, you sort of, there's a limit to how much you can take out, and you need enough to give it that meat, if you like.
Yeah.
But I think that would be quite a nice length, sort of sitcom length, which is quite a nice length to sit in front of a screen and watch something.
Absolutely, that's perfect time. Now, finally, the big question everybody's asking: when do you think we can expect this panto to go live?
No, this is really down to Pete, the editor. I asked him this question the other day when I spoke to him on the phone, and he deliberately avoided answering.
So it'll be soon.
It'll be soon. My hope, I think we're definitely looking to make sure it is live on the screens before the lockdown ends. So I would hope later in February, but it really are in the hands of the editor. It's a big job he's got to do. The filming was slightly delayed because of the technical issues we've had to deal with.
Yes,
you'll
of
have
course.
to ask him that question, but I'm hoping I might get an answer out of him soon. But he has his day job to do as well. So
absolutely, but no, thank you, and just to remind everybody involved is doing this voluntarily. That's the other thing. But thank you very much, Diane. Really appreciate your time speaking with me about the panto. We'll hopefully see it soon on our screens. I can't wait to see it. So keep an eye on our social media platforms, as we will showcase our potted pantomime. Try saying that when you're drunk. Our potted pantomime to you very, very soon. So thank you very much, Diane. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, enjoyed it.
Go to our new website, www.cotswoldplayhouse.co.uk, for more information on what we have coming up this year. So now I'm going to talk with Claire Howard. Now, Claire is a well-known face among the Cotswold players, having been a member from 1996 and taken part in a whole host of productions over the years, reciting Shakespeare and also taking the lead in a pantomime. She has also been the bar manager for quite some time, making sure everybody's topped up with a tipple or two. But not only that, Claire has directed a number of productions, including a couple of musicals, which includes Cinderella, and also she directed The King and I back in June 2017. Now, this year, in 2021, she has taken the reins to direct a 1970s comedy by Alan Ayckbourn, Absurd Person Singular. And she joins me now. Hello, Claire.
Oh,
thank you for joining today to talk about this wonderful production. Now, Alan Ayckbourn's plays are often dismissed as light comedies with no depth. So what inspired you to direct APS?
So Tim and I went to Chichester back, a good few years ago. and we did a double bill. In the main theatre at Chichester, they were putting on Kiss Me Kate, and over in the smaller theatre, they were putting on Absurd Person Singular. And it was the first time I'd seen it, and I sat there and watched it and loved it. And I turned around to Tim at the end and said those fateful words, I could direct that at the Playhouse. And then several years later, here I am finally doing it.
So tell me more about the play. What will our audience expect? Because this is obviously dated back to the 70s, isn't it? So tell me more.
Yeah, it is. And it's one that in Alan Ayckbourn's notes, it stays in the 70s. This is one, directors, we see a lot now of Shakespeare's being put on in modern times. And, Jonathan's just done it with Julius Caesar. We brought it up to date. This is one that you can't. The subject of it just doesn't work if you bring it up to modern times. It's got to stay in the 70s. And there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong. Why mess with something if it's not broken? That's what I say.
Absolutely.
It's a black comedy. And it's one of those ones that you laugh and then you think to yourself, should I have laughed at that? So it's gonna challenge. I think it's going to challenge the actors. It's going to challenge me as a director, and it's going to challenge the audience as well as their response.
So the audience will meet three couples, I gather, in three kitchens. Is it on?
You got
Christmas
it. So yeah, it's set over 3 different Christmases, but rest assured, we're hoping to put this on in June. Don't think I'm putting on a Christmas production in June, because I'm not. It's just how it's set. Yes, there's a few Christmas lights, and I think in Act 2 there's a little bit of a Christmas song, but it's not a Christmas play, so don't worry. But yeah, it's 3 consecutive years, 3 consecutive Christmases. We start in Sydney and Jane Hopcroft's kitchen, and Sydney and Jane, it's kind of almost Sydney's story, if you like, throughout, and you watch his journey from working his way from the bottom of the ladder to the top. There's quite a transformation in his character from Act 1 to Act 3. And then the second act is in Geoffrey and Eva's kitchen. Eva's a great character. She's sort of wafts about a bit and has a few issues, and Act 2's again that's one of the acts that you laugh and question whether you should be laughing.
Oh dear.
And then and then the final act is in Ronald and Marion's kitchen. There's a slightly older couple. By Act 3 he's retired, and as I say, we see in Act 3 Sydney is rising up to glory, I guess you might say, although quite frankly is a bit of a what's it by the end of it.
I mean, it sounds very, very interesting, and I think there's going to be a lot of comedy there. But you've obviously had to choose your actors for this, with your auditions and things like that. So tell me more about the audition process. Have you had any challenges with it, or has it been a walk in the park?
Oh no, this has not been a walk in the park, because I'm just looking back at my notes when the first auditions were. They were back, shall we say, at least 18 months ago, because of the beautiful coronavirus. This play has been put on hold a couple of times, and if you put something on hold a couple of times, sometimes you lose cast members because they do have other things in the pipeline. Because sometimes those things haven't been cancelled and affected, and I have found that. And actually the parts of Sydney and Jane, I've cast a couple of times now, but I'm hoping, touching wood and keeping my fingers crossed, that my current cast will be the cast that everyone sees in June, because this will go on in June. I'm determined.
we hope it will go on in June. That's the plan so far. But I'm sorry you've had to deal with all of that, but hopefully you've got the right cast now. So tell me who's in your cast. Who have you got from the players?
So the beginning couple, Sydney and Jane Hopcroft. Sydney is being played by Rob Mauler. So again, he's been in plays for a while. He's directed a load of cracking musicals and a great play as well. And he's been in a few things, but we haven't seen him for a while. So I'm really excited to have Rob back on the stage.
Brilliant.
Jane. his wife is being played by Victoria. Now, Victoria is a new member to the Players. Her first debut was acting with me and you, Jack, in the Stroud Theatre Festival, which did go ahead, which was great. So this would be her debut on the Cotswold Players stage, which is really exciting.
She'll do really well at that.
She'd be great. The second couple, so Jeff is being played by Ben Wardle. So he's been in a few things now at the Players. He's a great actor. And his wife, Eva, is being played by Christina Hugh of Mills. Again, we've seen Christina do a few things now around the Players, which is great. So, two good, strong actors there. And our final couple, Ronald, is being played by the legendary Dave Kilminster.
Of course.
And Marion, his wife, is being played by Joy Roselli. And again, it's great to have Joy back on the stage. She's been directing a few things, and it's great to have her back on the stage again.
Oh, excellent! So you've got a full cast. That's fantastic.
I've got a cast, a strong cast. I'm really looking forward to it.
Excellent. So you've got the cast, you've got everything sorted from that perspective. I imagine rehearsals are going underway via Zoom at the moment. Obviously,
I've done one read through with Zoom, and then I might have another one through Zoom. But I'm actually hoping to start rehearsals on March the 10th in person. Fingers crossed. We'll see.
Well, that's not far away. So fingers crossed that'll all be sorted for you. Now, how have you got all of your props together? Because obviously you need quite a few props, obviously dated back to the 70s here. So have you got any ideas for that?
So whose mad idea was it to put on a play that requires 3 different kitchens? Yeah. I mean, when I saw it in Chichester, it was, so Alan's actually written it with 2 intervals in it.
Okay.
So you can swap the kitchens each time. I personally, and Alan, if you're listening to this, nothing wrong with 2 intervals. I personally just don't like it. I think it breaks up a play too much for my liking, and I don't want to lose the audience. So I figured it made sense, not only with 3 kitchens, to have a revolving stage. Yay!
Different. That's cool.
So it's kind of set heavy. It's technically heavy. And the kitchen's got to be working kitchens. We got to have in 2 of the kitchens, there has to be sinks and running water.
Wow. Okay, so there's a bit of a challenge.
And there's got to be stuff in the cupboards. They've got to look like, used kitchens that people just walk in and walk out of every day. Means there's got to be a light coming down, hanging over one of the tables, because that's a pinnacle part of that act as well. Kitchen wise, I have half a kitchen in my garage. I have Terry and Rod Clifford have donated me their kitchen. I think that's somewhere in the Playhouse being stored as we speak.
Oh wow.
Penny and Charles has also donated some cupboard doors last year.
Wow.
And then my job is, I'm an estate agent, and I sold a house, and it's one that needs renovating. And I was going around with the builder who's bought it, and I said, what are you doing with the kitchen? And he said he's going to put it on the skip. And I said, no, don't put it on the skip. I'll come and get it. So when that house completes, I'm off to Eastcombe to go and get a 1970s kitchen out of someone's house.
Brilliant. Oh,
yeah, so
amazing.
It brings its own challenges. I don't know where I'm going to store that 3rd kitchen, but
it might make a nice little feature in the garden. I don't know.
Yeah.
So there's obviously a lot going on in this place. So there's a lot of conflict, there's a lot of humor and whatnot, and one character that stands out for me, Walter Harrison, he's an excellent example of a character who is neither heard nor seen on or off stage, but yet evolves into a major influence on the narrative. How?
Yeah, so you don't see but you hear Walter and Lottie, and also the dog George as well. There's a dog called George. Yes, he runs through it as well. Yeah, and I kind of think they're the couple that get invited to parties to provide the entertainment.
Oh, okay.
And I think no one wants to quite be them, but they try to be everyone's friend. And yeah, we've all got those friends. We all have.
We've all been there, I'm afraid.
We've all got those ones that you can rely on.
You've mentioned George the dog. Now, are you actually going to have a dog for this, or?
Well, it's funny you say that, because Joy has got a beautiful little dog.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I don't think we can use Joy's dog because it's too small, because George sounds absolutely ferocious in this. So yeah, I don't think we'll be risking life and limb. I think we will have to use some sound effects for George.
Oh, you never know, something might turn up. You never know.
Well, back when I was quite young, I was probably about 6. I did play Nana the dog in a pantomime once, so maybe I could find a costume, put it on, and rush around and bark. Who knows? Stranger things have happened, Jack.
Well, absolutely, and that'll be adding your twist to the whole plot. But no, I mean, it sounds really, really interesting, and I think it's going to be a absolutely brilliant play. Is there anything else you want to say to potential audience members, for them to come and see this? Is there anything else you want to tell them?
Well, I've got a bit of a quote here, actually, from Mr. Aybourne himself, and I think it's really, really apt. So to quote Mr. Aybourne, and I hope you don't mind, he wrote, "To keep an audience in their seats, you need to involve them in a constantly unfolding series of unexpected twists and turns. These can, of course, be the narrative of the story itself, through many psychological developments of characters. One of the nicest things people can ever say to me coming out of a play for the first time of seeing it is, well, I never saw that coming."
Brilliant.
And you know what? That's what I love. That's what I love. Yeah. With acting, directing, what I love is seeing the audience leave with a smile on their face, or or if you reduce them to tears from some really powerful acting, that's also great. But you just want that reaction, that positive reaction, giving them a bit of life escapism, really. And, hell, we need some escapism at the minute. So if I can bring that in June at the end of all of this, happy days.
Brilliant, and I'm sure you will. And we don't know when the play will take place yet, but hopefully it will be in June. But thank you very much for talking to me, Claire, today. And we've decided we're going to talk to a number of directors who are involved in plays at the Playhouse over the next 12 months or so. So there are more to come. Thank you very much, Claire. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. So go to our new website, which is fresh out of the box this week, and that's www.cotswoldplayhouse.co.uk for more information on what we have coming up this year. And don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, so you can keep up to date with all of our activities at the Theatre in Stroud. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you to our guests Diane and Claire. It's been very, very interesting, and we cannot wait to see the productions on our stages and on our screen in 2021. My name is Jack Boskett, and we're speaking to you from the Cotswold Playhouse Theatre in Stroud.